Hey, 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 Fit Mama. Jen Oliver here, your host of the FitMama Podcast. This is the work in to your workout. Hey, and welcome to the FitMama studio. We have Janna Arsenault in the flesh here. Welcome, Janna.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's amazing to be here.
Oh, it's such a treat to have you. This has been a long time coming. I knew you before this podcast even had its first recording episode. So I've wanted to have you on a guest since its inception. Now it's been over a year. So I'm so glad this day has come. I can't wait to share you with the Fit Mamas because the amount that you've taught me in our, I'd say, 3 years knowing each other is so valuable. I mean, it's been so valuable in my journey as a mom. I mean, you have a background in Pilates. You have a background in so many things, as we said in the intro, and we're going to get into each and every one of those roles that you play. We're going to talk about your journey today too, because a lot of the wisdom that you have isn't only from reading textbooks, working with clients. It's you've had an incredible journey yourself. And when you think about, even your own medical history, as you've said before, right? You have the medical history of 5 separate people. You have a lot of crazy stuff going on. So you truly had uphill battles in your journey, both to become a mother. You didn't know you could become a mother. They told you you couldn't. Was that right?
Absolutely.
So you've had a lot, whether it's physical, emotional, mental stresses, and all the things. And you are thriving. And you are just so amazing. So I'm so happy to bring you here today to the Fit Mamas. And, I want to dive right into a little bit of your story. So you are the pain freedom expert. You helped me become free of my own pain with my back. And, we'll talk a little bit about those things. But how did you become the pain freedom expert? How did you really know that you could help people become free of their pain? That's huge.
Well, Jen, if it's okay, I want to start from the beginning so you understand. I myself suffered for 15 plus years with back and neck pain. And honestly, I became addicted to drugs, ibuprofen 600s, because that's all I thought that there was available. So when I was 19 years old, I was in 2 major car accidents, 3 weeks apart.
Wow.
And I sustained a spinal and a head injury. Bright side was I healed from that.
Okay.
I healed from it.
What? Conventional modalities?
Conventional modalities. I went to physiotherapy.
Yeah.
I went to massage.
Did you need a surgery after these car accidents?
No surgery whatsoever. I do still have, a little bit of, it's S curvature in the C-spine.
Okay.
But I have no pain from that.
Okay.
So this was the mystery behind everything. So I healed, I sustained pain freedom.
Nice.
And then about 2 years after the car accident, I was in a relationship and went through some major emotional trauma.
Okay.
And one day I went to bed completely fine. And the next day I woke up and I had horrific pain. To the point where even to breathe, to have my diaphragm open and close was so horrific. I wanted to vomit. That's how bad the pain was. And I went from practitioner to practitioner at that point, seeking out, okay, how is it that I'm in this much pain? Nobody could help me find the results. All the tests I had, the x-rays, so on and so forth, nobody could give me any answers as to why I was pain-free, because everybody jumped to, well, it was because of the car accidents.
Right.
But how was it that I sustained pain freedom for that long and then all of a sudden had pain? It just didn't make sense to me.
And nobody was pointing you in the direction.
No. And what was amazing, now looking back, is as my emotional state became worse, and there was a point in my early 20s where I had a breakdown. I was depressed. I didn't want to live anymore. And life was very dull for me.
Was this while you were in that relationship?
Yes. And coming out of that relationship. Because at the end of the day, I knew the person just didn't love me. And it really came down to, it was very devastating. And what that did, Jen, is it cracked open a can of worms. It opened up, as I talk, even with my own clients, it opened Pandora's box. Because what it did is it opened up what I was repressing from when I was a child. Some of the things I went through as a child, I picked up And I brought forward, as everybody, we have over 80,000 thoughts in a day. 90% we pull from the day before. So imagine what we've pulled from our childhood.
Right.
So going back to when I looked at the emotions that I was feeling, and the worse my the worse my state became, the worse the pain was.
Like the more angry or sad or depressed or suicidal.
Yes, the worse the pain was. The more I didn't want to get out of bed, the more I didn't want to face, my everyday reality.
Yeah.
But there was something in me that kept propelling forward, that kept moving. And within that, I figured out that because my emotional state was connected to my pain, as I started working through those emotions and understanding why I was habitually revisiting them every single day, like picking up something, chewing on it some more, and then putting it down, and then, I've got that addictive behavior to pick it up, chew on it some more, and put it down. And the real reason why I really understood about addictive behavior is because for 12 years I suffered from an eating disorder. And that was also within that time, but it was also kind of the tail end of it, where it was like a light that I felt and I saw. It was like, I deserve better than this. I deserve better than how I'm treating myself, because I'm treating myself like crap. Right? So what else? And what else is going to show up in my life? How is a man going to treat me but like shit?
Yeah.
So when I started working through those emotions and really coming to terms with them, and dealing with some of the things that I had went through as a child, that I started to sustain pain freedom. So that's where the pain freedom method was birthed. And fast forward to now, I work with so many clients. So originally you and I had met, we met at a retreat, right?
We met at a retreat. At the retreat. Yeah, that's right.
And
oh my gosh,
I know.
That was what year? 2016?
2016.
Yeah, wow.
I want to say it was July.
So almost 3 years ago to the day.
Almost 3 years ago. So, and I was never really public about the pain intuition that I picked up on people. Many people do have this, but at the end of the day, for me, it was about people really understanding that they harness their own power within themselves. They don't need, we spend our everyday giving our power away to other people because we think we don't have the power. And you do, you absolutely do. You just need to understand what your reality is and what is really going on, and then understand that you can utilize these tools to work.
I like that you talked about giving your power away, because I think so many of us do that. I did that for so long, going, like you said, from practitioner to practitioner, going to this massage person, that chiropractor, that acupuncturist, et cetera, saying something is wrong with my back, going to all the scans and them showing up all fine, and me going, I can't bend or breathe without pain, getting so frustrated, giving my power away, never thinking or never associating it with my emotions, which is ultimately what it came down to, what I learned with you. So let's take our Fit Mamas back to the time that you and I met. So we were both speaking at this retreat, and you and I happened to be taking one of the yoga classes that were happening at the retreat at the same time when we weren't speaking. So we laid out our mats. Somehow we ended up right beside each other doing the yoga. And at this point in my healing journey from my back, nada yoga could I do. I could do a few little moves, and then it would be agonizing pain. Like you said, the whole time I'd be doing the moves, it was pain. Breathing through anything was pain. All it was just getting through it. Okay. That was yoga for me back then. And I mean, I don't know what, you experienced doing your own practice during that moment. Maybe you can speak to that. But I just remember you saying after, when I went to go buy something from you, because you have your metaphysical store and you have all your crystals, and I think I bought a salt lamp that time or some kind of crystals
that you had purchased.
Yeah. So I remember going to you, and then you saying, can I ask you a question? And I, of course, saying, yeah, sure. What do you got? Right? Anything. And you said, did you hurt your back? What did you do to your back? And somehow you knew. So what did you pick up on in those moments?
So when you and I were, we were actually right next to each other. And I'll be honest with you, at the moment, because we were surrounded, I want to say there was maybe 50, 60 people that were there.
Yeah.
So I started having, all of a sudden, horrific chronic back pain. So my first thought, which we're going to go there, my first thought was, oh my gosh, did I bend wrong? My mind still goes there. But in essence, when I was like, okay, no. So there's somebody around me, because I pick up on people's physical anatomical pain. And
so interesting.
It absolutely is. And then I end up picking up the emotions that are attached to that pain. So when I'm working with my clients, so for you, for instance, when we were sitting next to each other, I picked up on that pain. And once I had a hunch that it was you, that's why I asked when we were at the table, if you had chronic pain or if you suffered from back pain, because I felt it. And it was chronic. It was very, very apparent that life beyond this pain was next to extinct. So that's how I picked it up when we were together at that retreat. And then from there, I remember you and I having a phone call afterwards. I think you had some questions about the crystals or so on and so forth that you had purchased. And then from there, I remember that day you were in tears on the phone, and it was agonizing to my heart and soul to hear you. And as I am with any of my clients, because I know that there's something better. And that you don't have to suffer. And,
you offered me at that point physical solutions, which was really, really great because I came in to see you. You were doing myomassology treatments at the time. Maybe describe to us, for those of us who don't know, what myomassology is.
So myomassology is a holistic form of massage therapy. And with it, we do something called contraction release therapy. So we work on basically the attachment sites of the muscle and put it into a false contraction, and the muscle naturally relaxes. We're conventional. Also going back to that, we work the whole body as one unit. So because you have lower back pain doesn't mean it's those specific muscles that are causing the root cause of your pain. There could be something, for example, short leg syndrome, right? Where we have one leg shorter than the other. I go in and critique that, unless you've had a femoral break, a tibia fibula break, and your actual bone is shorter. So and myomassology also includes, working on the feet for reflexology. There is cranial sacral therapy. There's sweetest massage. So there's
the crystal bowl. Oh my God, I loved it all.
So we add in other modalities into a one session. As well. So I'm a Reiki master practitioner. So I add in with that in a treatment, because you never know what's going on, right? Until you're in the treatment, you get to know the person. So that's the basis of myomassage.
Well, it was definitely relieving in terms of the physical pain at that point in time. But what for me made the biggest difference in seeing you was us actually having conversations and discussing the fact that you repeatedly said to me over and over, this is temporary, this is going to go away, you're going to be able to do everything again. And you saying that and me having to respond to that and either take that on board or reject it was really the crossroads that made all the difference in my world. Because up to that point, doctor after doctor, I went to see neurosurgeons, I went to see orthopedic surgeons, I went to see the whole people. Everywhere, all over the world. I literally traveled the world looking for people who would help me with my back. And up to the point where you said that to me and told me, essentially, this is temporary. You do know that. So you asked me a question that I had to respond to. I hadn't really thought about it, which seems weird, right? Of course, I'm on this quest of healing my back. I'm going to see all these practitioners. Yes, they're going to heal me. But somehow it never really came to my conscious mind that I was choosing to believe that I could still be in pain all the time and that something was not going to heal me. I was more stuck in that, going, who else is going to just tell me they can't help me? And I was even in this negative spiral without realizing it all, without telling myself on any single day, I got this. This is temporary. It's just about moving through it. And, I was so stuck in the pain. I was so fearful I would hurt it again. I was so feeling disabled, like everything hurt still after years. I was so frustrated. And when you sort of held that up as an option to me, that this was not my way of life, this was just a blip on the radar and moving forward. Now, that being about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever, when you told me that, now I'm doing everything again, right? I'm doing gymnastics, which for me at the time felt like I'm never going to bend my back that way. I'm never going to be able to touch my toes that way. And I used to just cry over it. And now I'm just right back to it. And the biggest shift was that realization that this was a temporary situation, that this was not my new way of life, and this was not my new definition of me, which is a huge thing, but B, that emotional piece that you really teach. So I want to segue into that because, for me, I talk about this openly in the Love Fit Mama way. I mention you in the book. So, Fit Mamas may or may not have read that part and know about that. But what I really highlighted was that it ended up being a complete emotional, almost hostage of myself is the best way I can describe it. Like I was holding myself prisoner. And just a few episodes, I recorded a podcast saying, you make your own prison and you choose to live in it is essentially it. Because we do this to ourselves by what you said, addicting ourselves to whatever, to that state where it feels like we're actually trying to help ourselves, but this is sucky. I'm stuck in negativity. I can't get out of here. No one's here to help me. And this vicious cycle.
I love the fact that you just tapped into the many facets of the things that you were feeling. So really quickly before we jump into the emotional state, because this does kind of join with the emotional state. You talked about, your internal dialogue, and you've often heard me say your internal dialogue creates your cellular memory, and we have billions of cells in our body. And, every single cell is like a little human being in your body. Mm-hmm. And every single piece of information that you are feeding to those tiny little people in your body is giving you what you want on a daily basis. So having that fear that you're never going to get better, you need to go see somebody to get better. You need to, and it goes back to giving your power away. You're delivering it on a silver platter to everybody else instead of going, oh, hold the hell. Okay, let's hold the brakes on here. I talk about halt yourself. Yeah. Halt those thoughts. I have the power within myself. And the bigger meaning of it is that your body is a compass and it's telling you something. If you were in a forest and you were lost, you would use your compass, right? Because your compass is going to tell you what direction to go. But
I can't rely on my GPS anymore. That's what I know. My phone gets me lost more often than it finds me where I need to go.
So your body is your compass, and that pain was telling you something. And you were looking everywhere outside of yourself for it. I
was looking at the physical, right? I was stuck on, and I think I don't want to glaze over that because it is so important. I was stuck on the physical, right? And like you, those doctors were stuck on, well, you were in 2 accidents. Right. And you're like, no, I healed from that situation. This is not related. And how did you not go into, oh, well, it must be my curve in my C-spine and it's, how did you not go into something physical? How did you have that knowing?
It was very apparent every time I'd wake up and I would, implement some of my own strategies. Like I'll just use this for example. So, meditation. Right. If I implemented meditation in that day, my pain seemed to be a little bit better. Yeah. Right? So that's just one instance. Got it. And that is out of my 12-week program, that is actually one that I teach people to perfect, because when you learn how to get out of your body, right? Because your body is just basically your house for, your soul. Right. When you get out of your body, you realize how much you put yourself into your body. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So
and we just, to extend off that, we are so consumed with it. And I think it's because of our superficial nature. And I've been talking about this a lot, and I talk about the deep and superficial core. And I think this extends on that in a way that, we're very superficial, so we're so focused on what we look like and how our hair is and are we, slim, trim, this or that. And yet we aren't really getting to that deeper place where we're really listening to what's really going on. Like, what do we need to get deeper into? Talk to us about that.
So it's funny that you tapped on that because, even thinking about people, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but, people that are obsessed about their weight. Right. When they realize, or if they were to realize how much their internal dialogue creates those fat cells, right? Yeah. You have neural networks in your brain, right? And you have the ability to change those neural networks. Yeah. So just like, for example, going back to, oh my gosh, I can't move. Oh my gosh, this pain is never going to go away. You're creating and sustaining and firing those neural networks to say that to your cells. Yeah. So what's going to happen? Pain's going to be worse. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Whereas if you say, I've got this. Yeah. I'm going out to basketball. I'm going out to basketball. Yeah. I'm going to gymnastics. Yeah. and I'm going to do backflips and look at me go. I can touch my toes. I can bend. This is one of the things I remember because you were so careful about bending.
Yeah.
Just the simple act of bending. And I remember feeling, I was sweating watching you bend, literally sweating because how much pain you were in. Right?
And it wasn't until I breathed through that pain. Like, it was almost like I couldn't avoid the pain. I actually had to go through the pain and say, this doesn't hurt. I can bend through this. And no matter how bad the pain was while I was bending, it would be over as I breathed through it. And I think that's what I love so much about what you talk about, you know, connecting again those emotions, but also the literal physical aspects of stretching and foam rolling and breathing and, you know, doing all the things that you take care. I mean, right now next to us, I have my lacrosse ball and my little spiky ball that you gave me. And I'm always rolling my feet because if I'm feeling that pain, I'm feeling jumping on the trampoline, I'm feeling it running with my kids or at basketball or after gymnastics, I roll out my feet. And you've really helped me almost honor that rest, recovery, the stretching. You know, how many of us are like, oh, stretching, who cares, right? And while I was and admittedly am still sometimes that person who's like, yeah, ain't got time for that, the difference it makes, you know, like your meditation that you do that day. I noticed the same thing. My back doesn't start stabbing me when my kid, you know, one of them won't do what I want them to do in that moment, of course. Go put your, dish in the sink. No, and runs away. That used to stab me, right? Things where it's like, why won't you just do it? And my physical pain would rear its ugly head. I would feel so helpless.
Resistance.
Yeah, and now I breathe through that moment. I realize that, you know, what emotions am I having? Am I feeling right now? And I think you helping me get in touch with emotions because that's not always that easy for us. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So a lot of us run from emotions, right? We want to pretend, and all the fit mamas that are listening right now know exactly where I'm going to go. So you already touched on the fact that, you know, I'm gracious. I have 2 little girls. I was told we couldn't have children. And so did my husband. So it was kind of 2 folds against us. Long story short, had 2 girls. And the emotions that come up with having children, where your life is a certain way and then you have children and your
not
life
that way anymore.
is not like this as you know it in half of a second as soon as that baby comes out.
Yeah.
So a lot of us don't want to deal with these emotions. We want to put this mask on and we're great. We're fabulous.
We can do it all still.
We can do it all. Yeah. We've got the cape on the back. This is super mom.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what does that really give you?
Stress. Overwhelm, pain.
Pain.
For me, a lot of pain. And I was that mom. I was that person who's like, come on over. I'll make you everything. I'll do everything. Bring your laundry. I'll even do that. You know, yeah, like literally. And my husband would travel for weeks and months at a time. And it was like, I got it all. I got it. No family nearby. No one, you know, that I really could rely on other than people I paid. And yet I still didn't connect these things with the weight of the world on my shoulders and back, right? We just don't even realize that.
Not at all. And in our society, and this is also something that in the methodology that I teach is about belief systems and what we've attained and sustained through our lifetime.
Okay.
So you don't realize that you can change those belief systems.
Right.
You choose to buy into them.
Right. Thank you.
Where you need to retrain, or not need to, don't ever. You choose to shift your consciousness.
Yes.
And believe the belief system that feels good for you.
Yes. Okay, so let's dive into that because I think that's a really good point. And, you know, our belief systems really create those stories we're always telling ourselves, right?
Over and over
this
again.
should be this way. I should look this way. My job should be this. This should be my status. People should like me. Everybody should be, you know, happy with me. All the things, right? What do you mean by beliefs?
Okay, so I'm going to use an example because I'm all about examples. And I'm going to go here because a lot of people have resistance with this. So, Christmas.
Yes.
The belief system in our society is that we need to sit around a great big table on Christmas Day, quotation marks, with our family, our whole family.
Yeah.
Where some people, you know, don't always feel the greatest in the company of certain parts of family.
Right.
Right?
Good point.
So that's a belief system we buy into.
Right. That we have to
have
show up
to-
to these events and do
Right
things
there
with
on
our
that
family.
date and with all those people and do it. Otherwise, life's going to fail, life's going to fall apart, and it's just not that way.
Right.
It's a belief system that you buy
Right.
into.
So what's a consequence of us buying into that belief system?
Where you're going against the grain of what your soul is telling you to do. And then how bad is your pain when you're doing something you don't want to do? Remember, I went back to resistance. You're resisting something. You're resisting yourself. You're resisting what your internal dialogue is telling you what to do.
So your internal dialogue is telling you, you don't have to go to Christmas dinner. You want to go to the other family or friend's house that makes you feel good. Because what? A lot of the time our family is a source of...
It can be a source of
stress.
So through the clients that I've worked with, what they don't realize, and we're going to go there very soon, the emotions that we're addicted to generally come from some of the trauma that we've been through as a child.
Okay.
So, and let me define trauma, because trauma doesn't just need to be, for example, sexual abuse or emotional abuse.
Right.
It could be a situation, for example, where you were a little girl, you were in a shopping mall with your mom, you were going up the escalators, and then you were coming down the escalators, and your shoe got caught in the escalator, and you horrifically went frantic because you thought the escalator was going to eat your foot.
Right.
In hindsight, as an adult, because you know better, you're not going to have trauma from that. But as a 2 or a 3-year-old child, that can create trauma.
Which creates memories of that trauma.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what happens is it comes into your consciousness every single day through an emotion and through your thought patterns. And every single day, because you're also looking for it every day, you're also creating it every day. So people don't realize how much that's a rolling pattern every single day in their life. It's
So
like
that
being on
so
that
almost
hamster wheel.
like that response that you have when your foot gets caught creates kind of like a stress response, right? Like a fight or flight.
Yes.
And then then we can get addicted to those emotions.
Yes.
Or those chemicals that are released into our body.
Yes, and the bigger aspect of it is feeling trapped.
Okay.
So let's go, and then going into further trapment is fear, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to use this analogy because a lot of people don't realize that their anger is seeded by fear. So if you were to take a tiger, okay, you're the tiger, Jen.
Yeah.
And you're captured. You're now in a cage. How do you feel?
Yeah. Bad. Backed into a corner.
Right. You feel fear. Now I'm coming in as a perpetrator.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, put a chain around your neck or whatever.
Right.
You then lash out because you're in fear, which is anger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I really didn't, until we started discussing these kinds of things, I really didn't think I had any anger, right? I was like, what? Who would I be angry at? Who's there? I realized how angry I was at myself. And I think that realization allowed me to realize that, hey, you know what? I'm angry at myself because I'm not setting boundaries and letting, these people, let's say, take advantage of me, which nobody was, again, without my permission, but it felt like that. It was like, oh, I do everything around here. Okay, wait a minute, but do you really do everything around here? No, you don't. And likely it's because you've taught people they don't got to do anything because you'll do everything, right? So we don't want this to be the reality, but yet we create it every day. I like that you talk about that because that really is.
You do. You create your reality every single day.
Yeah.
You choose. That's why I talk about shifting your consciousness.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Because when you, for example, you wake up, you're angry, you're pissed, you gotta, the house is a mess.
Right,
and
you carry the
gotta clean
baggage
it.
from yesterday.
Yeah, you carry it from yesterday into today. So your consciousness is basically going to be feeling like crap.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got up and today's a new slate. I'm going to, the sun's shining. I feel gratitude. I have my children, which I was told I never could have children.
Right.
I have a house over, that surrounds me. I've got great friends, right? So that your consciousness, you see things that you never knew were there.
Right.
You just went there.
You were just focused on the pain. You weren't focused on.
And you just went there. You didn't realize how much you were creating in your own reality.
Right. And I think that's a good point coming back to the family thing is like, I can even say I do this with my own family, right? I go to my, parents' house or my siblings or whatever. And all of a sudden when we're all together, it's like we're 10 again, right? We get to be siblings. We have our mom, we have that dynamic. And it's almost like you treat people the way they were 20 years ago or X number of years ago, and everybody kind of falls into that place. And you're right, some of those feelings and emotions do come with a lot of discomfort, right? We all probably went through our teenage years with this dynamic in our family, and those don't always bring up the best memories.
No, they don't.
So to come back at Christmas, have all those triggers, it could be stressful. So I like what you're saying, have a go at looking, is this belief holding me somewhere, right? Do I leave? And this, I hear this a lot. People leave after 3-4 days at mom or dad's or Christmas vacation with the family or whatever. They'll come home and they'll need a vacation from the vacation. They're feeling worse. They've, maybe binge ate or drank or just taken, not treated themselves well because they're in that emotionally very vulnerable state.
There's two things that show up, Jen, when for so many clients that this is very apparent.
Yeah.
So there's two things that happen leading up to going to an event or being with people that, may not make you feel good, or you're buying into a belief system that you can feel it. You may not know. You may know now that you're listening to us right now having this chat.
But subconsciously,
you may not have realized. So there's two things. So number one, if you have chronic pain, your pain becomes worse.
Yeah.
And two, you get sick.
Nailed it.
Leading up to those events.
Yeah.
So you are.
I was just saying this yesterday.
Subconsciously.
Emotions are so connected with our immune system, eh?
They are. There is a straight pathway to our emotions and our actual immune system.
Yeah.
And people don't even realize that.
No,
they don't.
they
And literally going back to the belief systems and giving your power away, you have a choice.
Yeah.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
Shape shift your consciousness. Shape shift what it is that you are thinking about and how you're moving through your day. And it completely changes things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to walk you through really quickly, because I want to be able to give the listeners, this is what I even still to this day do it. I still to this day.
I know, and I do want your tools because you've helped me so much with them. Now I, of course, have taken them on board and do them and notice them in real time, right? Like that awareness you talk about. It's not subconscious anymore. I now know, okay, I'm going to go to this event or this meeting or this so-and-so is going to be there that makes me not feel good or that I get depleted after this. I use these techniques. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
So this particular technique is one of the very first techniques that I teach all of my clients. And it's really, really groundbreaking. So if you're a listener right now and you have chronic pain, I want you to ask yourself, how does this pain emotionally make me feel? And it needs to be an emotion, not I'm frustrated or I want the emotion. Does it make you feel angry? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you feel depressed? Does it make you feel fearful? I want the emotion. Okay.
And I love that you start with that because what we were saying earlier, and to clarify, our natural thing would be if we woke up in the morning with pain, I have a neck pain, all of a sudden, or I have a headache, or it's something, we'll say, how did I sleep? Oh, did I get enough water? It must have been wrenched this way in my shoulder, my pillow. Physical pain, we always first go to, what did I do physically?
Anatomical. Everybody always goes anatomical. Okay. And it's not...
And I really want to clarify that for our listeners. So if you're, here going, okay, wow, I don't have any pain, but I did wake up last week with something. I want you to really consider that this could have been from a fight, a stressor, a something negative the night before or day before or weeks before. I remember actually once you taught me this, and I'll share this story because it really is clear. You taught me to be really aware of, where my physical pains are coming from and are they emotional? Well, I went to go get an echocardiogram. So if anybody knows anything about the heart, I was born with a heart murmur. I've been going to these echocardiograms since I was a tiny infant in an incubator. And they come at me with an ultrasound machine, right? And I basically have a gown on or nothing on top. And I remember this being a very traumatic thing as a young girl, right? It's like, oh, take off your top and lie down, right? Okay, well, that's not that comfortable to do in front of doctor, nurse, whomever, right? So I realize that now only because you pointed out to pay attention to physical pain. And about a year ago, I had gone to get this echocardiogram, same old thing I've done, 30, 50 times in my life, more. And for about 3 days afterwards, I had this cramping in my chest, shoulder, and rib area. that was completely a product of while I was getting this echocardiogram from said nurse, I was clenching, I was cramping, I was huddled over. I was just like, oh, when is this going to be over? I freaking hate this. And I went into my whole old emotions that held me captive in that moment of anger, of why is my heart, I have to come do this, I have to miss school, I have to do this. I had all these things that came up. And I would never have realized that. I would have just been like, why do I have this shoulder cramp? Why, what did I throw? Who did I pick up the wrong way? When I realized that there were these emotions tied to these traumas, and again, different levels of traumas, right? Whatever it is for us, it imprints on us. And you just really make that so clear and helpful. So it's been so valuable for me because I've learned so much about my emotions due to my physical pain, right? My body now speaks to me and I can listen to it and adjust in a way that I never would have before. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome.
So I always ask now. So what is it that we ask?
So you ask yourself what or how the pain is making you feel emotionally.
Okay. So what the emotion is, how is it making me feel?
And if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper, go get it right now and write this down.
Yeah. If you're on driving or on a treadmill, take some notes in your phone if it's safe.
Okay, so ask. You want to ask you're basically asking your body how
this was so valuable for me.
This pain is making you feel emotionally. Once you get there, and sometimes it doesn't come right away, Jen, right? Sometimes it can take a couple days. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a few journaling segments.
Yeah.
So when you get that emotion, then step 2 is asking yourself, where in your life right now are you feeling that emotion? Because it's showing up.
Let's take us through an example.
So because we're dealing with lovely fit mamas, we're going to talk about, if we ever have some turmoil with our spouse. Okay. Because we know being a mom, and
we've all been there.
We feel a little bit of separation from our spouse. There's a little bit of, friction there.
Yeah.
So say the night before or, a week ago or even right now, you're not in a good place with your spouse. Yeah. You feel disconnected, discombobulated. Yeah. You're not having sex like you guys usually do. Yeah. And you're always in this state of anger and resentment. But you don't realize it because you're pointing your finger at the other person when you got 3 pointing back at yourself. And you have this either chronic lower back pain or the base of your head headaches, asking yourself what emotion you're feeling, and you come up with anger. Okay. Where are you feeling anger right now in your life? Well, with your spouse. You're angry at yourself. You're angry because your body's not performing the way you want it to perform because you just birthed the baby like 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, and you're angry. Yeah. So then here's the third step. When is the first time you ever remember feeling anger? So we're going to use anger right now as a source. Okay. Where did you originally find, or where did you originally learn the first seed of anger?
Wow, that's not an easy one.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. It's not an easy one, Jen. And this is where people crack open. Right. Because they're like, holy heck of Hannah, I didn't realize that I've been feeling this emotion over and over and over again because... Since
I was 4, 6.
Right. Yeah. So, and it can go back to, and this is just as an example, feeling like your power has been taken away, your choice has been taken away, right? Because you want to have sex with your partner, you want to have a good relationship, but your body is just not there. So you feel like your power has been taken away, your choice has been taken away. So what are you going to feel? Anger. And then deep-seated to that, it could go even further to feeling fear. Fear that your relationship's never going to be the same. Fear that I'm getting fat. Fear that I'm never going to be able to have a vagina like I used to. Fear that my breasts will never be the same because I've got bulging veins out and my breasts just don't look the same. They may be bigger, but they do not look the same, right?
And bigger is not always better. We know.
Exactly.
Going through motherhood.
So see how that spirals down almost like into a tornado. And what you don't realize is in the eye of the storm, the only thing that a chronic pain sufferer is dealing with is the fact that they have pain and they are running from it. Yeah. Instead of turning around and running into it and asking your body what it's trying to tell you. And when you start,
so what is it
listening
trying to
that,
tell you? Like if you realize, okay, it was because, I got lost in the grocery store and I felt abandoned by my mom when I was 6 or something, okay?
Usually when people understand where adrenaline stems from, that's where you can shapeshift it.
Right. Okay, so at that point, we do what?
So at that point, you understand. So you understand what emotion you're visiting every single day.
So that doesn't exist today.
So it doesn't exist today.
I know it's just a young primal thing that I experienced.
Right.
Yeah.
And know that you have a choice. And know that you can change the belief system around, let's say, anger, like we were previously speaking about, because anger is something that you've always habitually revisited because you feel like you have no choice, which goes back to our belief systems.
Right. And it feels like it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's like you end up looking for things that confirm that, this is something to be angry about.
You're going to look for it every single day.
Yeah.
You're going to look for it every single day. So do you see, going back to how you wake up in your day, how you are every day, but when you don't realize where that comes from, when you don't realize some of the things that you've been through and I'll tell you right now, there's clients that I've worked with, Jen, don't even realize some of the repressed, because repressed feelings is unconscious. Okay. Suppressed is conscious. Okay. So people don't realize some of the trauma that they've been through as a child. Very common. And how it has shown up in their present. Right. And they suffer from anxiety, they suffer from chronic pain. Yeah. Your pain is there to tell you something, which is choose to run from it instead of running into it, to ask what it is trying to tell you.
There's that fear, right? It's scary to think,
it is. So for myself, when I was going through that, one of the most deep-seated emotions was fear. And the fear is because I didn't feel loved, which is exactly what you teach. And growing up...
So many of us... Yeah.
Growing up, I never, ever, ever felt like I was loved. But here's the magical and mysticism behind it. You are the only one you'll never leave nor lose. Say it again. You are the only one you will never leave nor lose. You came into this lifetime alone. You're going to leave alone. So the most important piece of the puzzle is loving yourself.
Love that.
And with loving yourself, when you truly are happy people, as Marcus Bird says, person that we know, happy people don't hurt people. So when you know better, you do better.
Which I gotta say, I don't necessarily agree with. I know a lot of people who know better and don't do better, but I'd like to think in that idyllic way that we do once we know better. But I really think it's something that we don't know. Right? A lot of this is something that we don't know because we're so stuck in that physical, superficial, if my arm hurts, it's because I bonked it, or, if I have this or that, it's because of this, right? We easily attribute it to something in the physical that we're used to. And I think that having that mystical side of it where we realize, we came in alone, we're going to leave alone, we're going to teach people along the way how to treat us, and it begins with how we treat ourselves. Yes. Then we're going to do the best we can with what we've got. Yes. And that's all we can ask of ourselves, right? Because I know a lot of times I know better and I don't do better, right? Like I go, this probably isn't the best idea right now.
But your subconscious does tell you. Do you ever get that where you're like, okay, I'm still getting that back pain. Why am I getting the back pain, right? Because it'll persist until you go through the process.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. Yeah. You have the tool.
To freedom.
Right. So you have that tool to implement. You have the choice. You have the choice. Yeah. To utilize it or not. Yeah. Right?
What a gift.
So in that instance, if you know that it's going to give you pain freedom, just this one step, then you're going to utilize it. Or are you going to sit and suffer in it? And I know, and Jen, there are people
who will do that for decades.
And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. That's just where they are in their life. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you utilize this tool, those 3 steps, it's going to answer a lot of questions. And even it unfolds. Yeah, it unfolds really 2 folds and 3 folds and 5 folds beneath what is really going on. Yeah. Yeah. And it does really come back to you.
Yeah.
It comes full circle back to you.
So true. So true. I love that. That's so, this has been so, so, so valuable, Janna. I know that the Fit Mamas have gotten a lot out of what we've talked about right now, and I'm sure they can put themselves in a situation, or they can know if they're feeling pain, anxiety, chronic depression, things like that. That is a sign, right? And our bodies are talking to us. And if there's some kind of imbalance, it is really important to seek assistance and some support for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been so, so valuable. Is there anything you want to keep, top of mind for the Fit Mamas as you leave? The last thing, any parting words that we haven't touched on, anything that you wanted to bring up, anything that you want to leave us with today?
Well, let me tell you, I could just keep talking till the night is over. Let me tell you, because there's so many facets behind what we just spoke about. And I really want to make sure I touched on the emotional aspect of it. If you feel pain, know that there is resistance there. It's resisting to who you could be, to who you want to be. You know just as well as I do that there's always resistance and change.
Yeah.
So if you are in pain, if you've had chronic pain for years, know that you're not always going to be in pain.
So valuable.
Feed that to your brain right now. Write it on your paper. Put it as a screensaver. Jot it on little pieces of paper. Stick it everywhere around your house.
Yeah.
You are not
free.
You are free. That's why it's called the pain freedom method. You are free. You are not trapped any longer. You have this choice.
Yeah.
And the choice is, do I want to feel pain or do I want to feel pain freedom?
Pain freedom feels so good, Janna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. It has been a delight and such a soul-fulfilling moment. And I can't thank you enough for meeting you.
I know. We're so lucky.
Cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise. Namaste, Fit Mamas. Thank you to Janna Arsenault, our pain freedom expert.